This is the Chris Jones Band, American Radio.
Listen to the radio. Daddy's driving with his knee, cause he likes to roll his own. Mama's riding shotgun, singing every song. She don't know all the words, but she likes to sing along. Turn it up, American radio. Turn it up, growing up on radio. Just a girl in the front seat, driving to the show. Her favorite band is after whiskey, and she wants to go. Her boyfriend's riding shotgun, singing every song. He don't know all the words, but he likes to sing along. Turn it up, American radio. Turn it up, growing up on radio. Turn it up, American radio, yeah. Turn it up, growing up on radio. She's settled down with 2 kids of her own, and another one on the way. When it gets to be just a little too much, yeah, Mama turn the radio up and say, turn it up, American radio, yeah. Turn it up, rolling up on the radio. Turn it up, American radio, yeah. Turn it up, rolling up on the radio. Turn it up, yeah.
That was Chris Jones Band, American Radio.
This is Chit Chat, the encouraging one another podcast. Interviewing musicians, comedians, sports personalities, and many, many other individuals all over the world, sharing their story of encouragement, inspiration, what they've been through, what they've gone through, as well as amazing musicians from all over the world. Kick back and relax. For some amazing people you probably have never heard of and their story. Each of us have a story of hope, of courageousness, of inspiration. This is Chit Chat, the encouraging one other podcast. It's always about encouraging others.
When I say barbecue, does your mouth just start to water? Barbecue. Well, I got the place for you to go check out, right? Double D's, Barbecue and Smokery. They got the best tasting ribs, dry rub ribs, and the meat just literally fell off the bone the last plate I had. Delicious. Also, they have pulled brisket, pulled pork, sides like bacon, macaroni, and cheese, coleslaw, beans, and cream corn with green chilies. Little kick, delicious. And a dessert, banana pudding. That's right, banana pudding. Where can you find that at, right? See, Brett and Dawn, the owners of Double D's, are both strong military veterans. They have found a home here in the Pacific Northwest, and their roots range from Texas to North Carolina and everywhere in between. They bring their amazing flavors to their ribs and their food truck, which is a catering business as well. You can reach them at 360-960-9093. They're on Facebook, Instagram. That's right, Double D's, Barbecue and Smokery, delicious tasting ribs and barbecue. You got it. Check them out. I'd like to welcome one of the newest sponsors to the podcast, Mr. Alex Pablo. He specializes in assisting small to medium-sized local family restaurants establishments and enhancing their brand, identify, and cultivate a strong business image. He provides a comprehensive support through the creation and maintenance of professional business website, menu design, printing services, as well as implementing an effective online ordering system. His objective is to empower these businesses to flourish and achieve sustained success and increased online sales in their respective markets. Check out aldentedigitals.com for more information.
Hello, and welcome back to Chit Chat, the encouraging one-hour podcast. I'm your host, Jody Sheffield. Thank you for finding this podcast and subscribing and following to it. That first song you heard was by the Chris Jones Band called American Radio. Hope you had your speakers cranked because his music rocks the house. He was on episode 52 a while back. It was really fun getting to know Chris and hearing about his story, so go back and check his episode out. You know, I've checked out a good number of podcasts, and I truly believe this podcast is one of the most unique podcasts out there because I share amazing stories, encouraging stories, uplifting, entertaining, and fun conversations with amazing people. I do my best to bring a little bit of encouragement to you and to anyone out there, really, and amazing music by some very gifted musicians. In today's episode, I have Demi Michelle with her song called Follow My Compass, a really young and up-and-coming musician. She was on episode number 65. Go back and check her out. And I'm playing a song by Jason Biddle called I See the Cross, and he has an amazing testimony of what he's been through and gone through. He was on episode number 59. Very, very powerful interview we had as well. At the end of this podcast, I will share with you how you can find more about these musicians, their websites and whatnot. So I hope you can stay tuned for the entire episode. Today I'm meeting someone, interviewing someone who has an incredible resume. He's met so many people in his life, and from very, very prominent jazz players, and there's something about his style I really love, and he plays with such passion. And in the background you hear one of his songs called Miles from Home, and I just love his music and his style. Today we'll learn how to, at age 15, he broke his wrist from a skateboard accident, and the doctor said to use playing guitar to work on your wrist and his fingers and whatnot. That transformed him into becoming a very gifted musician. And as he watched a Jimi Hendrix documentary, he learned more and learned more and learned more. And I'm excited to talk with him today. I'm playing one of his tunes called Return of Summer. And some of the reviews I saw about this guy are incredible. The Seattle Times says, Michael Powers, a Seattle jazz guitarist who just gets better and better. And the review says there are two types of people, those who love Michael Powers and those who have not heard him yet. So ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, welcome Mr. Michael Powers to the Chit Chat Encouraging One Hour Podcast.
and gentlemen, welcome to the Chit Chat Encouraging One of the podcast. Mr. Michael Powers, a very gifted musician here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm excited to hear more a little bit and about his music. So welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the invite too. I really enjoy what you do with your folks, and it's uplifting and aspirational, and that's a good thing. I'm excited to be part of it.
Thank you. Before we dive into fun conversations, I love throwing some questions at my guests, kind of to pick their brains a little bit, just kind of get the wheels on the bus turning.
Okay.
So I got a few for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
If you were to order your special dessert for your birthday, of all the desserts out there, which one are you choosing?
It's a real hard balance between excellent tiramisu and excellent carrot cake. I'm a big fan of both of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tiramisu or carrot cake? Sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, what has been one of the hardest life lessons you have learned up till today?
I'd say as a performing artist and as an independent contractor, that you have to really size up your client, because if they are not, if you don't charge them enough, they don't think you're good.
Mm.
If you're playing
photographers
for a local kind of a thing or whatever, that's one thing. If you're playing for Bill Gates, which I have, if you don't charge them enough, you must not be good.
I got you. I have friends who are photographers too. My daughter, they're kind of the same thing. They have a lot of experience. Yeah, it's the same thing. For a lot of people out there, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think any kind of independent contractor type, or any kind of generative artist, the worth of your output is something you really have to learn to put into perspective.
Number three, what is one of the most beautiful places you have visited, and why?
I was lucky enough to win a raffle at the Tacoma Zoo, and it was called Zubilee. It was an event that they did raising money for stuff, and we went on a 30-day, all expenses paid trip, $30,000 trip. I bought one $5 raffle ticket, and I got this thing. And my daughter was 10 at the time, and it was perfect because all of the things were all routed, and there was excursions and things. And we went to the famous Taronga Zoo in Sydney. We went out on a farm in the middle of nowhere, and it was just perfect for her at 10 years old. And we had a great time together. But because it was so tightly routed, there were times, and I can remember right to this day, where it was like, okay, you're on the bus. Okay, you got 20 minutes here. Enjoy it. Get back on the bus. And I remember this place called Manly Beach in Sydney. It's in the outskirts of Sydney, and it was so awesome, so beautiful. And all I wanted to do was just stay there. And it was like, I don't know where I am. I'm in some other country. I can't just flake out on this. And but I can't wait to get back to Manly Beach.
Sounds awesome. You've seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, correct?
Only little excerpts of it, and I know that they made a new one.
So,
and I know it was made in Tucson, and obviously it helped Keanu Reeves' career. The other guy, not so much.
So basically, my question is, we're going to get in a phone booth, right? Like in the movies.
Yeah.
And you're picking three eras to go to, any place in history to kind of play your music. What three places are you stopping to visit, placing Michael Powers' music?
I would love to go to the 50s jazz scene in New York and Greenwich Village.
Yeah.
Where you can walk in and Miles Davis is playing over here, and John Coltrane's over here, and Charlie Parker, Yardbird Parker, they called him, was playing, and where all of that was happening, and Charlie Christian was innovating on the jazz guitar. making it a really out front solo instrument. And I'd like to play with those guys because the records I've heard, they were smoking. I mean, even, back then. Um, that's one. I'd like to also, so this is over time and space, or I can go to any location in this time
Yep.
period.
Yep.
Okay, so I'd say um, I'd like to go play with people in the Brazilian uh, area in Rio de Janeiro,
Mm.
where they're celebrating Carnival, and probably back in the heyday of that before Brazil got to be such a poor country, and it's kind of scary to go there at this point, where you could just um, you know work and collaborate with those incredible musicians there. That would be, and then I'd say like the 50s Havana, 1950s Havana, and all the great music that was created in that time period
Okay.
before there was a political cutoff from that area where you could just go.
And my last one is you could pick any three artists to be on stage, past or presently, living or not, a one night concert. You and three other any artists that you're choosing. Who would it be and why?
I would definitely first one would be Miles Davis, because he got the best out of everybody that played with him, and he was so innovative, and he created different styles, and where the whole shift of the jazz experience followed him into these new styles. Um, I'd say, boy, so yeah, to get to play with Miles, that was always my dream. I didn't get a chance to. I actually wrote a song on one of my CDs called Miles from Home, on a full circle CD. And it was like, this is what I would have played if I had gotten a chance to play with him.
Mm.
So I'd say I would like to play with Jaco Pastorius, the great bass player. He was so inventive and interesting. So I'd like to do that. And, getting back to earlier, to stand on stage and play with um, Charles Yardbird Parker would have been amazing.
Those questions are pretty easy, weren't they? Not too hard.
No, not bad at all. I'm ready.
Dear and I interviewed today discussing about you and your career and kind of, kind of picking your brain a little bit. You were born in 1960 in San Francisco, and you moved.
Yeah.
You live in New York and Seattle. Why did you move around so much?
Well, it was the other way around. I was born in New York.
Okay.
We were there until I was about 5, and then we moved to the San Francisco Bay Area. Parents, did that whole, hey, let's go west, like the Beverly Hillbillies, and get out there and, more opportunity, all that stuff, culture. It sounded interesting. My mom's a hardcore New Yorker, but I was glad I got that opportunity to be there. And then I was in the San Francisco Bay Area until I graduated from high school. Graduated, I was like 15, so about 16, we moved up to the Seattle area, and I've been there ever since. But the culture that I got while I was there, I remember when I was living in San Francisco, lived at the corner of Waller and Ashbury, which was 1 block from 8 and Ashbury, which is the center of the counterculture thing. I'm 7 years old. It's the summer of love. All of that's going on. And to me, that's just normal. It's not counterculture. It's the actual culture, like where I am. I remember that there was a band that lived next door and practiced all the time. And they practiced real loud and late. And pretty much my mom would call the police on them every day. That looks good. Thank you. And for those of you that are following along, I'm checking in with you from a restaurant because I had 2 gigs already today, and then I have another one later on tonight. So this is my chance to grab a bite.
You're both asking.
Yeah. And So anyway, there was this band that played next door, and my mom called the police on them every day. And that just was the thing. And only way later, when I got interested in doing music and I started looking around, I realized that guy with the beard that lived next door was Jerry Garcia.
That's awesome.
The other thing was that I could get on my Swing Stingray and ride down the street and get to Golden Gate Park, and they had all of those famous bands from that era playing down in the park. I got to hear Santana, Quicksilver Messenger Service, Jefferson Airplane, all those rock bands from that area, from that time period. It was amazing. And then Seattle, my mom worked in medical transcription, and there just was a lot of opportunity to come up. So I was at that point, just getting out of high school, and I was like, I don't know, all my friends are here in the Bay Area, but okay, I'll help you move and see what I think of it. And I got up to Seattle and said, wow, it's just like the San Francisco Bay Area. It's got a bay, got hills, but the water isn't all completely polluted. It's like 50 years earlier of non-pollution of the environment, and I fell in love with it.
And at the age of 15, correct me if I'm wrong, you had a skateboarding accident, and during recovery, I believe the doctor kind of recommended you, and that's kind of what got you fast track to you to playing the guitar. That pretty accurate?
That's true. Yeah, I thought I was Tony Hawk or somebody on the skateboard. I was running around and going down the hills, and one time I came around a hill on a route I usually did, but they had a construction going on, and they threw some gravel on the road, and I hit the gravel, and the skateboard stopped, and I kept going.
Oh no!
That's how I broke my wrist. And while I was in that cast, it was a super bad break, and so it had to stay in the cast extra long. The forearm was kind of atrophied, and I saw a movie about the life and times of Jimi Hendrix, and I said, "Wow, look at that! I've got the afro. I got the big afro. I've got the bell-bottom pants. I can do that." I talked to the doctor, and he said, "Yep, that'd be the best thing you could do to build up your wrist strength again, play guitar." So yeah, that's how it happened.
Did you come from a musically inclined family? Anyone play instruments or sing, or were you the only one that kind of was in the instruments and music?
The only thing that they played was the 8-track tape. But they played a lot of music. I got to hear a lot of good music in the house, and like I said, I had the Grateful Dead next door, and I heard all that other music, so it was all getting in there.
I'm sure some of my listeners are going, "What's an 8-track? What's a record?" That's a whole other camera we'll get into some other time.
Yeah, old school. 8-track tapes had a thing. I don't know if you ever got to hear them yourself.
You get records. I had a big giant coffin of a stereo.
Yeah.
And good old days.
That big console thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
You originally began attending a jazz school called Cornish College of the Arts. Would you mind sharing about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, as it turned out, I was learning to play music by ear, and I enjoyed that. But there's the two sides of the brain: the logical and the more intuitive. The intuitive side was happy because I was learning how to play stuff that I heard on records. But the logical side of the brain was not happy at all. It was like, I don't know what's going on here. I was playing in bands, and I, kind of played like the Black Angus circuit. Even though I was like 17, I wasn't old enough to be in there. You could sign a paper, you go in and play the gig, and then you'd have to go sit out in the lobby or out in the car on the breaks. And I got a lot of knowledge. I did well with it, but I wanted to know more. I knew I could only go so far without knowing how to read and write and arrange music. So I went, and I had a friend that was going to Cornish, and I would just show up there every day and jam with people and just sit in the classes until finally one day they just tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Dude, are you going to sign up? Are you going to pay?" You just come into the class all the time. And I was like, oh, okay. And I signed up and I got a 4-year degree in jazz composing, arranging,
That's
and
awesome.
performance. Yeah.
While at Cornish, you say different composers. I'm not very versed. John Williams from Star Wars and Jurassic Park.
Mm,
What's it like
mm.
learning composers?
I got to work with Gil Evans, who was the guy who did all the arranging on Sketches of Spain and all that. Just revolutionary, kind of a bridge hybrid between orchestral music and jazz music.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing to work with him. It was great to work with Gary Peacock, the great jazz bassist, who then went on and was in the best jazz piano trio in the world for years and years with Keith Jarrett. Um, it was just wonderful. I was able to kind of create my own program. So I took private lessons with all these different people that were there that were well known. And instead of just taking guitar lessons, I would like get with this great bass player, and I'd sit and I'd say, okay, from your perspective, what do you hear? What do you want to hear from the guitar? And then I'd study with a great pianist. Well, how do I play so I'm not clashing with the piano and we're both playing chords and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that?
Mm-hmm.
So I went through every instrument there, figuring out how to put the guitar against those. And also, it helped me to develop my ear for arranging for those instruments. And ultimately, later on, now I have a synthesizer to my guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, oh, this is what the trombone guy would have done. This is what the trumpet would have done. This is what the piano would have done. And I'm playing those sounds on my guitar.
Okay. How many people can you different sounds can you attach to your guitar? You could do like a 5-horse band and yourself as well.
Well, I can do one instrument at a time. Sometimes I do that kind of thing when I'm recording, but it's more like, I want to have a song where there's guitar for a while, then there's a flute solo, then there's a sax solo, and
Gotcha.
I'll play all those.
Something about instrumental music I love. I think every musician has that X factor. Something about it that you tap your foot or you sway, you nod your head. As your younger days, what would you use your styles when you became and you kind of getting more and more experience in your music?
Well, for me, it was, like I said, Jimi Hendrix to pick it up first. Then I found out about Carlos Santana. I loved his style and I emulated it. And then one day I was watching this show they used to have called Midnight Special with Wolfman Jack.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
Carlos
yeah.
Santana was on there. And
Yep.
he came, and then he brought out some guy that brought out this guitar, and it was like this huge guitar. And I said, I don't know what that is, but it sounds good. And it was George Benson. And him and George Benson played together. And I said, I don't know what that is, but I'm going to learn that. So I got into George Benson, and I found out he learned from Wes Montgomery, and I found out he learned from Charlie Christian. So I just kept going back and back and back.
Wow.
And getting all the original stuff, and then so I got the blues thing from Jimmy. I got the more jazzy thing from George and Wes Montgomery, and I got the Latin thing from Carlos. And then I stopped really. Then I started really emulating what I would call all the industry guitar guys that were in L.A. and New York that were the background musicians that backed up people. Tommy Tedesco, who was in the Wrecking Crew, was a big inspiration. They backed up everybody, Beach Boys, Frank Sinatra, whoever, Sonny and Cher, all these people.
Wow.
And I tried to be universal, like be able to play with different styles, with different people, and nail the authenticity of that style, so that you could do what they needed, either live or recording.
As I prepared for this interview, I watched a few of your videos, and man, you bring such a presence on stage. You're smiling, you're moving, for the gift of music. That is incredible.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And if people go to my website or look me up, make sure I'm not the New York Michael Powers. There's one of those out there that plays like blues rock stuff. but I love what I'm doing. I love to play, and I love to communicate that to the people. I feel like I heard a great quote who said an artist has two hands, one to feed themselves and one to feed the audience.
Mm, nice.
And if you do too much of one, it gets off. You know, if you just feed yourself, why should the audience care? You know, it's some kind of big inside joke. If you just
Right, right.
do what you think the audience wants only, then your soul won't get satisfied, and you won't keep creating good art because you're just thinking this is what I need to do in order um, to be commercial. You know, you've seen that happen when somebody comes out with something great, and then the record company says, "Yeah, keep giving me more of those. Do another one of those." And ultimately, they get fed up with the industry. They stop putting out good music, and it's over. It's a flash in the pan.
Who's encouraged you along your musical journey?
Um, so many people. I remember there was a gentleman named Buddy Catlett that I just knew he was the cool guy that played at the jam session down the street that I wanted to go to, and he played the bass. And I looked him up later. He played with Louis Armstrong the last 15 years of Louis' life. He played with Count Basie.
Great.
He was like the top of the top in the world of jazz playing bass. But I would go down to this place, and he saw something in me, and it was very encouraging. We'd go to this place called Laferno's that was on Queen Anne area in Seattle. Yeah, and I'd already played rock. I'd already done this stuff. I'm trying to get into jazz, and I was kind of flashy, but I didn't have tons of chops. But he would be nice to me. Some of the other players, they were like, "Oh man, here comes that kid again." Let's call some tune that we're gonna lose him on. Getting tired of this guy coming in here. But this guy, he pulled me aside and said, "Man, I love what you're doing. Keep doing that. Don't worry about these people. You're gonna transcend these people."
Nice.
So I'm forever indebted to the great Buddy Catlett for being that guy. Um, I got a chance to play when I was down in California. I just picked up the guitar. There was a thing where they had BB King coming to Berkeley, California. He was doing a concert. Concert was sold out. They did a ceremony that was like, let's make it BB King Day in Berkeley, and they gave him the key to the city. And then the third thing he was going to do that day was do like a little workshop in the neighborhood. And the workshop happened to be at the library that was down the street from my house.
Mm.
And I saw the flyer when I was in the library. Well, apparently they didn't advertise it that well. I was the only one to show up for the workshop. So it's me and BB King. And he was like, "Young man, what can I help you with?" I was like, "Oh, Mr. BB King, I want to play the blues like you." And and I had this little crappy guitar I got from a pawn shop. And I'd taken it and sanded it down to try to make it better. And I said, "Hey, one day I want to be able to get like a guitar like Lucille, you know." And he said, "Let me show you something." He picked up my little crappy guitar and he picked it up and he went, and it sounded just like BB King. And I said, "Damn, it's not the guitar. It's the guy." Because all this time I'm thinking, if I get Lucille, then I can play like that. Nope.
That is awesome. You came out a book across in your life. This is amazing.
Yeah, I was super lucky. So that was super inspirational, and it taught me a lesson right out of the gate that it's about your hands and your tone and the heart you put into it,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that's what comes across.
You know the first time you performed on stage, when it was, and how did it go for you?
That's a good question. I can tell you this. I learned how to play. You could consider this a state. I learned how to play a acoustic guitar. I had like this little box guitar, and I learned an E chord. Which, if people go and they look up my um, on michaelpowersmusic.com and look up my Cinco de Michael CD, which is my Latin CD. I'm sorry, I apologize, but I had to use that because it was there. Cinco de Michael. Um, I learned how to play an open E chord, and there's a song on that album called Malagueña that really shows you the open E chord. And if you learn an open E chord, I thought it was the best sounding thing I ever heard in my life. I was like, oh my God, strum. Then I figured out I could keep my hand doing the same thing with my left hand, but just move it up and down the neck. And it sounded Spanish. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I was like playing this, fake Spanish sound. I thought I was like El Cabong or something like that. And and I was playing it, and I did this for like 50 days until my mom said, "Stop! I can't take it anymore." And, and I took my guitar. I said, "Okay," and I went out our front door. I went to the neighbor and I rang the doorbell, and I was there. Strum, strum. I started playing it for them. So I guess that was my first gig on the road.
That's awesome. Is there a lot of musicians out there who kind of put themselves in a box of different styles? How do you categorize your style of music?
The exact opposite of that box. That's my style. Eclecticism.
Okay.
Standard jazz, South American, Brazilian music, rock, everything that can be done with a guitar, I'm interested in. And so the it's like I'm the wine, and all of these different styles is the bottle, and you can pour it into different glasses and different bottles, and you get a different vibe. But the throughput is the same person's playing it, but so it has a certain amount of cohesion because of that. But it also, if you put it in different contexts, it becomes very eclectic.
I've seen you play types of
Go ahead.
guitar too, right? How many do you have?
I have the standard. I used to have a 335. Wish I still had that guitar. Which is kind of like a BB King, Lucille type of guitar. And I sold that so I could get a Stratocaster. So I needed that for bands that I was going to play in. I still have that Stratocaster. I've got big old fat jazz guitars, little skinny Stratocasters. I got a custom made guitar called a frame. It's a nylon string it's just got the neck and then an outline of foam for the body, so I can travel with it. And that's my main guitar and has been for 20 years. I've got ukuleles. I got into that. I play electric bass. So when I did my retro radio CD, which is my latest, I pulled out every guitar and we took pictures and we counted 14 of them.
Wow. And you
used some of them on the album cover.
So album
15 altogether.
What's it like putting an album together? How do you piece together your pieces to make a good flowing album, or do you getting together and kind of go for it?
Oh no, it's very important to take all especially somebody as eclectic as me, stylistically.
Okay.
Once you do all these things, like in some cases I do thematic things, like I mentioned earlier. I had a Latin oriented CD, but even within Latin, there's a world of different styles, right? So all of those kind of coexist on there. But when you get that all recorded, putting them together and having them be in the correct order is the most important thing, so it flows, from tune to tune. You consider whether you're going from a minor to a major tune, if you're doing kind of a melancholy, quiet, kind of meditative song, or if you're doing a big upbeat, big exciting song, and you really have to consider the flow. But on top of that, I've done like a pop album. I've done the retro radio is like all these tunes that I listened to over the years that I enjoyed from the radio that I admired from afar, but I never had to play them at any gig.
Okay.
So that was the concept there. I did a bluesy CD. It's called Blues That You Can Use, and it fits into that style. Done a lot of original writing. I've done a lot of rearranging and doing covers. So I just try to approach it from different ways, especially when I'm composing. Sometimes I'll start writing the song from the guitar. Sometimes I'll start it from the bass. Sometimes I'll start it from the drum and or the keyboard, and then put all the other instruments around. So you get different perspectives and different sounds depending on which one you start with, and that's important as well.
Something I really enjoy listening to. I got a friend of ours. We had to, used to go at our church. We go to a worship practice, and he's kind of strum, do some guitar riffs. Not no lyrics or anything. And right. I don't know what is there a meaning for kind of just kind of play around, warmed up. I just sit and listen to that. Half hour, an hour. Just kind of just I love that stuff. Is there a term for that?
Well, it sounds like he's just practicing scales.
Okay, but, scales.
But he's also if he's doing it in an interesting way that keeps you, where you can listen to it, he's doing it in a lyrical way. Instrumental music can be just as powerful as vocal music, as long as you leave spaces like where vocalists would breathe. So most people think of instrumental music, they think of the things that have saxophone, trumpet, harmonica, some kind of wind instrument as the leader. And the reason people like it so much is because they are able to play with the amount of breath they have. Then they have to take a spot, and take a nice breath. And there's a thing that happens where they leave just enough space for the person that's listening to get it, ingest it, sonically, and then be ready for the next phrase. If you go on and on and on like you can on keyboard or guitar without leaving those spaces, you end up in a situation where people can kind of just shut down their attention because it's too much and you don't leave space. So what's important in that kind of a thing that you're talking about with that guitar player or what I do is for me to I like to sing along with what I'm doing and then have to breathe and take space. And it's very similar to, the old days when people were doing like Morse code. They would go da 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 da, and then leave a little space so the person could write down what that was and sort of get what it was, and then they do the next thing. And talking is that way. You leave a little space, they can hear it, and the best music is that way too. It's gotcha. That kind of a communication and a give and take and a call and response that way. So that's why instrumental can work if people do that. That's what I've observed.
And I found out you live here in Washington State, but you also live in Arizona. But this is where we're also slightly connected. A good friend of yours and mine, Jeff the Fish Aaron, is the one.
Oh yeah,
you.
The fish. I just saw him in the airport the other day. I was playing the gig, and he had just come up and visited. I was heading back down to the oven.
I had him on the podcast a while back, and I said, "Hey, you know anyone who would like to be on?" He goes, "Yes, Mr. Michael Powers." So,
this is all Fish's fault. I'll have to thank him next time I see him. Thanks for connecting me. Yeah, he's a good guy. We've gone golfing, and of course he was a big impresario of sports here, and down there he's doing really well, doing some trivia stuff.
Yep.
And he's like the king of that down there. He's doing really well. But I spent about 10 days a month down there.
You go down there when it gets colder in Washington, but right now it's freaking 90 degrees in Washington. I don't see you going to Arizona anytime soon, do you?
No, I still go there 10 days a month.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a place there, and I got to make sure it's okay. And in the hot time
Get your golf in
down,
too.
yeah, get my golf in, and we go golf, me and Jeff. And the hot time there is when the pool is actually worth using. So it's great to go down there even when it's hot, jump in that swimming pool.
I was reading about also you were also asked to play the national anthem for the Seattle Mariners, the Seahawks, back in the
Yep.
days of the Sonics. What's
Yep.
that like when you're playing the national anthem?
It's a couple things. It's an honor. It's a little bit more nerve-wracking than the average gig because you do not want to screw it up. You do not want to be Roseanne Barr, right? So you got to get this right. Um, um, it's really cool. It's a great thing to do. Um, I haven't done a lot of it lately because it was like I did it a bunch. I think my winning percentage is close to 800, something like that. I think they should have sent me to that second Super Bowl to play for the Seahawks. And they
Oh
might
yeah,
have won.
that would have helped, I'm sure.
No, but I think that recently I was down at a charity celebrity golf tournament down in Portland. Maurice Lucas, who was a Portland Trailblazer when they won the championship, his son is continuing their, because he's passed away, but his son is continuing this big charity thing that they do, foundation. And I played an event for them at the Michael Jordan Steakhouse the night before the tournament, and then I was just going to play in the tournament as a celebrity, and I'm literally on my way out the door to go to the course, and his son David Lucas called me up and said, "Hey, guy, we were going to have played the national anthem. He's not going to make it. Can you come play the national anthem for us?" I was like, "Wow, I haven't played it in years, but okay." So I had about 5 minutes. So when I got there and plugged in and everything, to sit down and go, "How do I play this again?" Because then I was really nervous. Like I said, you don't want to screw it up. But I did it and it came out nice.
Nice.
And it made me say, "Hey, I should do that again sometime." So anyway,
Can you share a few of your most memorable moments throughout your career? You got to take a step back and go, "Did I really do that?" And pinch yourself, going, "This is this real?"
getting to work with Sir Mix-a-Lot
Well,
on his most famous record, the Mac Daddy, that has the Baby's Got Back on it and all that.
yeah,
That's amazing. I've got a nice platinum record on my wall from that,
that's awesome.
my studio. Being in Europe, playing with Dr. Lonnie Smith. Dr. Lonnie Smith was one of the best jazz Hammond B3 organists in history. He was right up there with Jimmy Smith and Drew Holmes and Jack McDuff. Those were the guys. What's even more interesting about Dr. Lonnie Smith was he was the jazz organist in George Benson's first band that won all the downbeat polls. Was considered the best band in jazz at the time. Him and Ronnie Cuber, who was a great baritone saxophone. I was playing a fundraiser at the ACT. They had the Mingus Dynasty Band. They had Lambert Hendricks and Ross, and then I was playing in another little like cocktail room. And Ronnie Cuber heard me there, took my card, and a few months later, "Hey, we're doing a tour of Europe. We like your playing. You want to come play with us?" And I went, and so I was basically in the band with the first big huge band that George Benson was in. I was kind of in his chair,
Wow.
filling in the shoes of George Benson. That was me.
Are there any upcoming projects you're working on you'd like to share about?
At this point, I don't know if I'm going to do another full CD album because it's hard to get I used to get amazingly strong airplay on KPLU and the smooth jazz station and all that stuff around here. All that stuff is kind of gone, and people are really just listening to Pandora and Spotify and all that stuff. Um, so I'm thinking I'm going to do some singles, maybe a holiday music single. I want to do some at some point. It's a project I really want to do is what I would say is spiritual music,
Okay.
done in my way. I put out 2 holiday CDs, and that contains some spiritual music. But I want to do a whole recording of that, or a series of singles of that music. But I want to tell you one more thing about that experience with Dr. Ronnie Smith. When we were touring Europe, jazz people are supposed to create on the spot. That's the thing. It's like you have the basic format of the tune, but there's parts in the middle where you improvise and you make up stuff. And you know, they do it at varying degrees of really creating something new every moment. But we also have what we call licks, like certain things that we do that we piece together to create a new solo. But you're not supposed to really play licks. I've gotten to where I'm play less licks now, but when I was starting, you learn things from people and you kind of recite them back, right? That's how you learn and create your own style. The most amazing thing ever was playing for 30 days on a tour with this Dr. Ronnie Smith guy. And, one day we're on stage in London, next day we're in Paris, and I never heard this guy repeat himself with any lick, and he's completely created new stuff every day, all night for 30 days. I've never heard
Wow.
anything like that in my life.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's such a great experience to be able to stand there and experience that and get inspired to do more of it myself.
Well, how can people follow you, listen to more of your music, and perhaps find you doing a little concert somewhere along the way?
Yeah, just go to michaelpowersmusic.com. They can do samples of all of my 15 CDs to see what it's about. I also did a live concert DVD live at the Moore Theater, which is a theater in the Puget Sound area that's renowned, and they can keep track of that. And I would say, and you're gonna play some of my music as well, or
Yes, sir.
as part of this.
Yes, sir.
And so they can download stuff. You can get a feel for it there. And as I always say, it's very important on a regular basis to go look at my web calendar to see where I'm playing, even if you don't like what I do, so you won't accidentally end up where I'm at one day.
And my podcast is encouraging others. Do you mind sharing some encouraging words, say, for a musician who may experience just kind of starting out, or inexperienced, not sure what to do next, or getting their music out there? How would you encourage someone?
I would say this: figure out how to divorce and to do a separation between the art and the commerce. But when I say that, what I mean is, you obviously need to put some kind of a numerical number on what you do so that you can have an income stream and it can support you and you can keep creating music. And that's important, but you have to really not think I'm playing for the money. I heard a story from Count Basie. Count Basie was one of the great big band leaders of all time. And it was in a period when racism was so amazingly bad that they would sell out the biggest hotel ballroom in the city, and then they couldn't stay in that hotel that night, being black musicians. So they had to, go to a flop house on the other side of town, or a lot of times they said, forget it, I'm getting back on the bus. We'll sleep on the bus on the way to the next meeting. He said, for the 2 hours a night that I'm on stage, because I love playing music, I do that for free. You're paying me for the other 22 hours a day that I need to do things and create infrastructure in order to be able to be in that position to be able to play. The travel, the rehearsing, the writing charts, whatever it takes. And that's the way you separate it. To make sure that once you're actually doing the art, you really don't think about the money part of it. You do it and with the same joy you would do it even if you weren't getting paid because you love it.
Kind of stealing the quote from The Love of the Game, for the love of music.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah, and the other thing I would say is I heard this weird quote when I was trying to learn. Chick Corea was one of the best jazz pianists ever. And one of the things that I learned from him, and I thought it was so weird when I was looking for him for inspirational words, but now I get it. They asked him that requisite question in an interview. Well, what would you say to inspire people that are trying to get in? And he said, I wouldn't say anything because if you're really going to make it doing this, you have no choice but to do it. It's like breathing. It's like you need air. You need to do your art or you can't survive.
Yeah.
And those are the people that have enough stamina, willpower, and stick-to-itiveness to push through all the obstacles and ultimately make it to where they can make a living doing it. That's a weird thing to say, but you have to assess yourself and say, can I take or leave this, or is it like breathing? I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk today. You're such a very gifted musician, and thanks again to Jeff the Fish Aaron for passing your name on.
Yeah.
I'd love to share your music anytime. Let me know. I'd love to get the word out. And currently, I just checked today. I'm in 41 states and 23 countries. So someone's music out there somewhere around the world.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. And thank you for what you do and bringing positive, aspirational energy into the world with what you do for showcasing different people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I hope I may see you one day in concert if you're in the Kitsap County area. So let me know.
Okay.
Michael Powers, thank you so much.
All right. Have a great rest of your day or evening wherever you are listening. And drop by michaelpowersmusic.com and say hello.
Thank you, Michael. Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
This is Michael Powers with the Return of Summer. was Michael Powers' The Return of Summer.
And now we'll stop for just a second for a brief commercial break.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Okay, I guess we won't go to commercial break just yet.
This is Demi Michelle. Follow my compass.
Waves crashing out at sea. I couldn't find the shore no more. Dark water swallowed me. I was sailing nowhere, praying to get somewhere. I don't know how I lost my sense of purpose. But now I found my inner compass. 'Cause up north I'll find my roots back home. Down south the fire burns in my bones. Out east the sunrise brings me hope. And out west I go with the flow. 'Cause I know to follow my heart and follow my dreams. Follow my compass. Don't need a magnetic field, nor stars in the sky to guide. Don't need stars. Right here in my heart I feel the rhythm that knows where I gotta go. 'Cause up north I'll find my roots back home. Down south the fire burns in my bones. Out east the sunrise brings me hope. And out west I go with the flow. 'Cause I know to follow my heart and follow my dreams. Follow my compass. Got caught in the storm, veered far off course, searched for a lighthouse to show the way. But I figured out how to count on myself. Won't lose my direction now. Oh no. 'Cause up north I'll find my roots back home. Down south the fire burns in my bones. Out east the sunrise brings me hope. And out west I go with the flow. 'Cause I know to follow my heart and follow my dreams. Follow my compass. Follow, 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 follow. Follow my compass. Follow, 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 follow. Follow my compass.
That was Demi Michelle. Follow my compass. We'll return to the Chit Chat and encourage you one other podcast after these messages.
Are you craving donuts? I got a place for you to check out the most delicious donuts around. Come on down and check out my friends at Lone Star Donuts. They're a locally owned and operated business here in Kitsap County, and now they open their third location. They already had locations in Silverdale, Washington, Port Orchard, Washington, and now in Poulsbo, Washington, with over 50 kinds of donuts. I kid you not, 50 kinds of donuts. Many are filled, many are maple with bacon, real bacon, not that fake bacon. And now they have clutches. I had no idea what these were, but they're like a yeasty pastry with kielbasa on it, and they're so, so good. Check them out on Facebook, Lone Star Donuts. Their 3 locations are in Silverdale at 1087 Maury Place. The number is 360-204-5021. In Port Orchard at 2649 Mile Hill Drive. The number there is 360-443-2649.
2600, and now in Poulsbo at 21505 Marketplace, Suite 102. We all know you cannot buy happiness, but you can buy donuts. That's basically the same thing, right? Stop by and check out my friends at Lone Star Donuts. You can find them on Facebook as well. Lone Star Donuts, the best tasting donuts around. I'd like to invite you to come on down and check out Go Toys and Games at the Chit Chat Mall in Silverdale, Washington. Why? We have Hot Wheels, Funkos, puzzles, Barbies, Rubik's Cube, Monopoly, Clue, you name it, we got it. It's a fun store, it really is. There's so much stuff, old school, classic games, Labyrinth, and chess and checkers. Come on down to the Chit Chat Mall in Silverdale and check out Go Games and Toys. See you soon. This is my good friend Jason Biddle. I see the cross.
I was hollow inside like a dead oak tree or a canyon in the deep at the bottom of the sea, like a 2x4 to the back of the knee. Something hit me when I prayed. Oh, when I prayed. This time I can see the cross by your saving grace. I'm no longer lost. This time I can see the cross by your saving grace. I'm no longer lost. Like any other sinner, I need to confess. Oh, I'm so sorry for creating this mess, and now I must repent for the damage I've made. I'll never look away, Lord, I'm here to stay. I'm here to stay. Oh, here to stay. This time I can see the cross by your saving grace. I'm no longer lost. This time I can see the cross by your saving grace. I'm no longer lost. You gave me a new song to sing, a song of praise, a song of praise. Set me on a solid rock, a solid rock. Now that I can see the cross, see the cross. This time I can see the cross by your saving grace. I'm no longer lost. This time I can see the cross by your saving grace. I'm no longer lost.
Thank you for joining the podcast episode today with Mr. Michael Powers. His website is michaelpowersmusic.com. Also, chrisjonesbandmusic.com. Demi Schwartz, spelled SCHWARTZ.com, and jasonbiddlemusic.com. All their websites, check them out, follow them, and please subscribe and follow this podcast for brand new episodes every Wednesday. This is Chit Chat, the encouraging one-on-one podcast. It's always about encouraging others. Until next time.
This is Chit and Chat, the encouraging one another podcast. It's always about encouraging others.